Hi folks, and welcome to October's Aches and Games Monthly, a relaxed monthly check-in between two slightly older British friends, talking life, gaming, and whatever else comes to mind. We've got a potential all-time show for you this month, sharing what we've been doing, watching, and playing. Put that smirk away, James. Every show is a potential all-timer. And it includes Sword of the Sea, which is our latest sub-club choice for the month. Plus, there was a busy month of news, including Sony's State of Play, and we'll highlight any recent or upcoming releases that we believe we should. And don't forget, there are timestamps in the description for anyone who wants to jump straight to the games chat, or to any section, for that matter. And between episodes, you'll find us on most socials and on our Facebook page. Just find us by searching Aches and Games. I'm Giles Nicholson, I'm Giles West, and joining me as always is my good friend James Hapes. Hey James, how's it going?
Good evening, Giles. It's quite amusing actually, because you mentioned just before we started recording that there's going to be no technical issues tonight. But then literally within 5 seconds we start the intro, my sound completely. So I've unplugged it, plugged it back in, now it's working for a few seconds. So we shall see how long that prevails. Anyway, yes, good to be here in our normal mountainous background as always. And yeah, it's been an interesting month, hasn't it? So I'm sure it is going to be an all-time great show. Like you said, every single show just gets better and better, doesn't it? So, yeah, if you come back in a year's time, it would be off the chart, wouldn't it? Could be ridiculous. Anyway, James Boy 978 on PlayStation Network, James Boy 789532 on Xbox, and website stuff. You have to laugh for my bloggy bits, and I do the Twitter, and no, I don't do the Twitter. What's Twitter? It's olden days, isn't it? Blimey. I do Facebook, TikTok. Blimey, Twitter. Those were the days, aren't they? Blimey, that's it. So yeah, great month. Let's do it.
Do I have to take back the suggestion it could be an all-time episode before we even get through the intro? But, you know, maybe this shambolic nonsense is what people tune in for. Good. Right. Well, before we get started too far, James, I've got a few things, a couple of bones to pick with you, which you might have noticed were redacted in the notes. Number one was from a regular listener of the first bit, because she's got no interest in games, and good friend, Maddie, who pulled me aside when we all got together a few weeks ago and said, could you please pass on to James that he completely spoiled the ending of SAS Who Dares Wins for me in last month's episode. We do try and avoid spoilers in general, and I think we do a decent job on games. Hopefully, listeners, you will agree with that. But it turns out if you're a few weeks behind on a UK reality TV show, then we might need to put some more spoilers in our TV updates. James, what's your rebuttal or apology for Maddie?
I would recommend listeners listening to TV programs when they're on, rather than in retrospective. And obviously, if you're worried about stuff, then flag it in advance so we won't cover it. So apologies to Maddie. It was a good show though. It didn't spoil the drama of it. And Maddie said who won.
There you go. Well, thanks, Maddie, for getting in touch. We got a little bit of a few messages actually this month, so it's very exciting. But before we get to an email that we got, which I really do want to cover, I've also got a bone to pick with you, James. I know. More bones than a all-you-can-eat wings night at Brewdog, which might come up later. Because, I mean, this one's kind of on me. Last month, though, you mentioned a Netflix film, which I think has kind of been doing the rounds, called K-pop Demon Hunters, if I'm right. Yeah. Still haven't watched it, but after you talked about it and said how good it was, I thought, why don't I just, I'll just look up the YouTube video for one of the songs. So I listened to Golden, and basically for the last month I've been singing that bloody song to myself because it's a banger, isn't it? Yeah. Really good. So yeah, slightly tongue-in-cheek. It also took me down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos of song coaches like reacting to Golden and then other songs, which is amazing. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed people talking about the technicalities of vibrato and whatnot. But anyway, Golden, I'm sure any listeners will, especially who've got kids, will be attacked, earwormed by that song already, but I had escaped it until you pointed it out last month. So thank you for introducing that to me. But I wish it would, share my head with some other songs and some other thoughts next month, hopefully.
I don't know how it previously escaped you, because it's been literally everywhere. It's been in the charts and all sorts for all us modern people who still listen to up-to-date things. To be fair, every song in that film is a banger, absolute banger, everyone, to the money. And they've already announced a K-pop Demon Hunters 2. So I'm looking forward to that one for next year already, yeah. Even more bangers coming up, so make sure you watch this one before the next one comes out.
I better get on with it. Yeah. Okay. Right. More importantly, back to the listeners or watchers, we got an email from Steve, aka Javier, on a previous episode. Two names, one person. Steve, we're going to count you as two people because we need the listeners. So Steve and Javier, thanks for both getting in touch. Very kind. But Steve is just, we mentioned he was, I think, a partner of someone you work with, James, Mandy, is that right?
That I used to work with, yeah. She moved on to bigger and better things a little while ago now. About, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, maybe longer. Time flies, who knows? Could have been 10 years, God knows. It's been a while.
Excellent. Well, Steve got in touch, said some very nice things about the show. So hi, Steve. Thanks for writing in. And anyone else, feel free to let us know what you're playing or any thoughts on the show. We do appreciate it. Steve mentioned that he had completed recently It Takes Two with Mandy. So quite jealous of that because we didn't get to the end, but I think you did with Joshua, didn't you?
You didn't get to the end?
No, as regular listeners will know, Hannah has a bit of a problem with the third dimension when it comes to gaming. So the twin stick control, where you're controlling the camera and the sort of movement of the player. She grew up and very much gamed in the sort of simpler days of 2 dimensions or top-down stuff. So we play a lot of that sort of thing, but trying to quick reactions in 3D, controlling the camera as well. Didn't really work, so we decided to move on. But I hear it's very good, and Steve certainly enjoyed it, so thanks for letting us know, Steve. And he is tackling at the moment Baldur's Gate 3, so good luck with that, and we'll hear from you what you moved on to in about 3 years' time, by the sounds of it. So,
and also, we recommend Split Fiction, because that's obviously the sequel to It Takes Two. It's meant to be even better and more awesome all round, but we still haven't around to playing it yet.
Sort of the next one, isn't it? A sort of similar theme, but not narratively. In fact, that's interesting because thinking about timing, that's EA or it's published by EA, and those games tend to come to Xbox Game Pass after about 6 months or so. So it might well be coming to Game Pass, not too distant future, which would be good. Right. Well, with that very welcome aside, James, what have you been up to this month?
Yeah, so mainly working. Awful lot of working.
Yes.
I can't remember if I mentioned before that the roster I'm currently on is quite challenging. So it's either lots of earlys in a row or lots of lates in a row. And when there's lots of earlys, you're too tired to do anything in the evening. And you have to get up early the next day. And when it's the run of lates, you're too much at work to do anything in the evening. So it doesn't leave a lot of time for evenings. So me and Sarah have been working opposite shifts a lot this month and not had much time to do anything exciting like films and TVs and stuff. So I've been out a couple of times, she's been out a couple of times, but rarely made it out together. So hopefully October will be different. With a bit of leave coming up, but we shall see. But anyway, it's been busy still. Joshua went to his new school, obviously. So he moved on to secondary school. It started about 3 weeks ago now, right at the start of September. And he seems to be enjoying it so far. He's walking to school on his own now with a friend, which is nice. So it saves me getting out of bed too early in the morning to take him in the freezing cold out to a 15-minute walk. Although today his friend didn't turn up on time, so I had to go out for the 30-minute round-trip walk, which is nice. It made a nice change to see him off at the gate, so that's good. But yeah, that's all going well. We mentioned before about the cost of the uniform and the sports stuff and everything else, and it's just ramping up. He's got gum shield now and shin pads and football boots and Astro boots, and he might need rugby boots. Who knows what he's going to need next week, but it's just a non-stop crazy fest of exciting school stuff. And I mentioned before about the ludicrous number of apps. There's even more apps now for his homework, so we've got Apple Stature One, we've got Arbor, we've got Parent Mail, we've got Seneca. So 4 different apps and then 2 WhatsApp groups just to keep on top of very basic school admin. In our days, back in the, whenever it was, 70s, 60s, whenever we went to school.
Medieval times, I think.
Yeah, it was literally just a satchel, wasn't it? And some paper in it, and you dragged everything around every day constantly and tried to make it home in one piece at the end of it. We survived. Look at us now. We've got a very successful gaming podcast.
We do.
Something to aspire towards for Joshua there, who's very keen on it. We had a couple of nights out together, Giles, didn't we? So do you want to talk about one of them? Talk about the other one?
Yeah, what was one of them? So one of them was the vineyard, which was really good
Yes.
fun, and we can cover that because you were invited to the vineyard section of that day. There's a place called Stan Lake Park, I think. Should have checked that before the podcast,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
relatively near us. And so a group of us went out for a wine tasting, but James, not so much of a wine fan, I understand, so you joined us a bit later on that day. What have you got against wine, James?
It tastes awful.
Okay, fair enough. Well, this stuff tasted quite nice, and it was quite interesting. We got it was quite different to previous sort of tours that I've been on, where the lady who was showing us around and taking us around the actual vineyards, around the vines, and around the machinery, just had this bag of flasks of wine, and would just keep topping you up as you got to the next location. So the topping up was going much quicker than the tour. No, the tour was going quicker than we could drink. So you were getting topped up dangerously quickly. And by the time we went for dinner, when you did join us at a nice Thai restaurant nearby, I think we'd all had a few. Was it evident, James, to you when you joined us?
Yeah. Yeah. There's more evident with some people than others. Some people are more concerted drinkers on a regular basis, so it's less obvious with them. Some less so. Let's leave it there. But also, it wasn't an issue with wine. I would have had to come to the wine tasting, but I was working early that day, and I had to be up at 4 o'clock the next morning, so I couldn't drink anyway. So, not a lot of point in going to a wine tasting when you can't drink.
Pretty fair. Yeah.
Next
But the
time.
dinner was nice, wasn't it?
Dinner was great. Nice people as well. I was a bit worried because I have a friend from work called Amy who lives locally to that Thai restaurant, and she said it's changed names 3 times now in the last sort of 5 years. So I was a bit concerned it might have been arse, but it turned out to be really nice. So it's good food, and the bloke who I assume was the owner, he was very cheerful and friendly, and kept trying to make us buy more rice, because that's, he said, had the biggest profit margin. But it was lovely. Food was good, company was good, had a nice time. Food came relatively quickly, only minor confusion at different stages, and then they gave us all a free Baileys at the end to finish the night. So that's my sign of a good finish to a night, is a free alcoholic beverage.
Yes, it was. It was very good. They haven't sponsored us, so I won't tell them, say who they are. But if they fancy it, I'm sure they've got a huge marketing budget commensurate with such a successful podcast. So you must be listening. In which case, get in touch, and we'll mention your name next time. You mentioned another night out, James. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, Giles, we would recommend both venues, but I can't remember the name of the time. You couldn't remember the name of the wine place, so okay. If you're in the Woodley area, there's a wine tasting place and a Thai restaurant nearby. No, not Woodley, Twyford. Don't go to Woodley, blimey. Nothing in Woodley at all. Twyford, very nice Thai, very nice wine. So yeah, good.
What?
Anyway, yeah. So we also went out again for, annoyingly, another wings night, because I hate wings and the whole concept of wings revolts me. However, we were promised by our good friend Scotty that this time they'd introduced chicken tenders to add to the menu of options for the wings night. But in reality, when we got there was no chicken tenders. It was just crappy old wings again, annoyingly. So I don't like getting greasiness and stuff on my fingers. I don't like eating food off bones, and I don't like little scraps of meat attached to a dead animal. So in all 3 ways, wing night is not the ideal for me. However, the wings were perfectly pleasant, and the company was perfectly pleasant, and we had some drinks, and it was all good. So no more complaining, but next time we will not go to wings night because I hate wings.
Yeah. I think it was the ultimate false pretenses, wasn't it? Although it was still, the tenders were still on the menu, as in physically on the physical menu that was presented to us, but they were not actually on the menu, and there was no obvious sign that they ever had been. I think it was just a scam to get you back there. Excellent. Well, yeah, I enjoyed it too. Unusual for us to be out twice in 1 month together, but very pleasant, very nice.
Yeah,
so,
almost too much, we said, didn't we?
A treat. Yeah, I did. Yeah, too much really. I was trying to. It was like a showman, so I was trying to be nice because we were on the podcast. But yeah, once a month's probably enough.
Yeah, great a bit.
Anything else you've been up to outside of seeing your favourite friends?
No, I'm just looking forward to our next peanut and wine night, and we're going to do in a month's time. That'd be great. Yes, other things. Been quite busy again doing things on my days off. So I work too hard when I'm at work. I don't sleep enough. I play too many games, and then on my days off, I spend the whole time DIYing and digging stuff up and putting it back together. Madness.
Yeah.
And then I wonder why I'm knackered. Ridiculous. Should have grown out of it by now. Like 46. Blimey. Right. So this month I have returfed not most of the garden. That'd be an awful exaggeration. Some of the garden. So when we had the extension of my granny annex, not my granny annex, but it's not even my granny's annex, my mum's annex got built. We also extended our bit to incorporate the family room into the bit. And when that was done, they built a nice new shiny path around the outside of the new shape of the building. But annoyingly, being that we got quite a slopey garden, the path didn't match up at all with the grass. So in some places, the path was much higher than the grass, like a good 3 or 4 inches. And some places, the grass was higher than the path. So very annoying. So different places, it was blah, 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 blah. Which meant that when it rained, you'd either have the rain hitting the grass and then bouncing down the dirt onto the path because it was higher in places, or in other places it would just sort of flood. So I thought it'd be a great idea to spend a day off, because it's nice and sunny and dry, digging up loads of turf and then relaying it in different places to level the garden out around the path. Great idea and concept, and quite tiring. Much easier when I used to be younger and fitter and healthier, but now at my grand old age, it took a lot of effort out of me. And I was seeing bright lights flashing before me, and I could hear angels singing in the distance. And sometimes I went up to a pearly gate and was asked to come in. I was like, no, I need to go back. So I finished off the garden, and it looks nice. I'm just waiting for the seeds to take, because Maddie, as Giles mentioned earlier, very good at that kind of stuff. She does environment things and rivers and other things to do with weather and life and grass and stuff.
We were listening, Maddie. We do know what you do, but I'm not going to step in.
So she very strongly recommended that for September, it's much better to lay grass seeds than it is to lay turfs. So I thought, no, don't fancy that. It's too much effort. I'll buy some turfs. But then they'd run out of turfs everywhere, obviously, because it's September, ridiculous time to buy turf. So then I pretended that I'd taken Maddie's advice and brought grass seed. So I grass seed everywhere in the end, bought some earth, put it all down, and a week later it's done nothing at all yet. But I'm optimistic that in another week's time, hopefully we'll see some shoots coming up to complete our garden. So that was it, really. That was my garden bit. We also redid the balcony. I meant we, but when I meant me, I mean just my mum. My mum did all our garden boxes to put back on the balcony, so we've got a lovely attractive balcony now. And I spent a bit of time up there the other day, enjoying the sunshine on the balcony. It felt like being on holiday, but without the sea and the cocktails and the annoying children screaming in the background.
Nice. Well, it's a very, I was going to say domestic bliss, but is there an equivalent for a garden, I guess? No, it's gone. What's the word? Anyway, we'll cut that bit out. It'll be fine. It all sounds very nice, very pleasant, and fairly busy, like you said, given that you are working like a dog. So,
I also say that I fixed the sofa, because that's quite impressive.
You can?
Yeah, thank you. Good. I can't remember if I mentioned before on the podcast. I probably did. If I did mention it, it'd be on the previous podcast, so please listen back for all of them, and you might see me mention the sofa. Joshua has a normal-sized bum, but he does jump up and down more than a normal-sized person. So due to his excessive jumping backwards onto the sofa, the middle section of our lovely double reclining sofa broke in half. So when he sat on it, all the wood had cracked and fallen apart, and unfortunately it meant that when he sat in the middle bit, you were like a few inches lower than everywhere else. So I took it upon myself, when I was bored on a day off, to flip the sofa over, again, nearly killing myself, rip the bottom out, and then repairing all the wood. So took the wood out, put it back together, put some screws in, put some supports in, re-threaded all the coily bits, and now it's a perfectly good sofa again. So I was quite chuffed for that. I'm sure it'll fall apart again at some stage before Christmas, but for now it looks good, and I'm pleased.
It's quite impressive, James. I'm not sure if it qualifies for a highlight of the month, repairing a sofa, but I can feel the satisfaction. Yeah, I can feel the satisfaction coming through through the speakers and through the screen. And as someone who is not at all handy, I bow down to your superior DIY skills, because that's quite impressive. So, and something saved from landfill or having to buy something new, which is always a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, delighted.
Nice. Well, the only other thing I really did, apart from wine, Thai and wings, was we went on holiday for a week, which was very pleasant. So we went to... Now, this is Aches and Games, so it's sort of on brand, but also I want to I want to push back against the idea that I'm this old, but we did go to Jersey for the week. And it was actually really nice because we were surrounded by really, really old people. So we felt quite young. There was a point in the hotel, there was one day in the hotel over breakfast where we had a suspicion that one of the couples might be younger than us, but it was marginal. Whereas every other breakfast, very clearly we were the youngest by 10 to 20 years, I would say. But it was a really nice little trip. Probably the perfect amount of time. We were there for 5 days. One day was because we were staying in a spa, so we sort of just lazed about. So sort of 4 days of exploring. Had a lovely sunny day on one of the nicest beaches, St. Bretons Bay, I think it's called, which was absolutely stunning and really sunny and lovely. But the rest of the trip was a bit windy. So we enjoyed some indoor stuff like going to the war tunnels, learnt a lot about Jersey as an occupied part of Britain during the war, which I had no idea about, and now feel like I'm able to bore people with for ages, so I'll try not to do that. And also there's an amazing puffin statue made of wicker, these giant puffins, 2 puffins kind of kissing, which is very pretty, which artist made during lockdown, and which looks absolutely stunning overlooking the sea. But yes, a really nice trip. Cool castles, lots of German sort of artillery and kind of concrete-y sort of bases that they built. So a mixture of history, nature, and lots of old people. It was kind of nice and good feed, very good feed. So that was
you can get some really good deals on those Saga coach trips these days, can't you? So time to shine.
And whereas before I'd have to sort of lie about my age to sneak in, like I used to do with the OAP deal at the cinema, now they just nod me in. They don't even ask, which is a bit sad, really. But there we go.
Part of the club. Happy days. That's good. I don't feel nice. I don't think.
No, probably not. No. Give it time. It'd be so nice. I think people just naturally gravitate there as they get older.
I've been to Gibraltar, I've been to, and Malta, but not Jersey or Guernsey.
How's your geography, James? Would you say they're close?
Well, they're islands, aren't they? And they've got a British connection to them. So yeah,
that's true.
Auckland's
nice. Excellent. I was going to say, did you watch anything good? But your note here says can't recall watching anything.
No, like I said, we had no evenings at all, apart from the ones that we were out together. So I've literally just been asleep or playing games.
Fair. That's fair. No. Well, I'll keep mine brief then. Oh.
No, I was going to say the only remaining thing is I discovered chocolate orange Baileys, Terry's chocolate orange Baileys, which I've never seen before. It's a brand new limited edition, which is disappointing because it's a limited edition, and it's in quite a small bottle. You really need a litre of it to keep going. But if you can imagine the taste of Baileys mixed with the taste of Terry's chocolate orange, you'll be well on track for working out what Terry's chocolate orange flavoured Baileys is like. It really is exactly as described on the bottle. It's lush.
That does sound good. How long does a bottle keep? Could you stockpile it?
Oh, I don't know. It won't keep long in our house because I'll be drinking it. So,
yeah, that's the problem.
It's a moot point. Hopefully, I'm sure it still exists all the way through Christmas. I guess it's a Christmas special, so I'm sure I'll be there until the new year. So we'll have some in our Christmas party later in the year when you come around for our yearly house party.
Amazing. I look forward to it for 2 reasons now. We haven't watched very much of interest. Just quickly to highlight, you asked how I could have possibly avoided K-pop Demon Hunters. It's because we haven't had Netflix for a very long time. But we do now have Netflix. So we are catching up on the last season of The Crown, very current, which was interesting but quite sad. The first half of it is pretty much about Diana and bad stuff happening in Paris. So that's been most of our sort of drama type watching. On my own, I've been watching Alien Earth on Disney Plus, which I would highly recommend based on what I've seen, although I think it was just the finale of the season and I heard that it was a bit mixed, so that's really still my parade for the rest of the series, but I'll soldier on. And then the only other thing I wanted to flag was I went to the cinema and saw One Battle After Another, which is Leo DiCaprio. It's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who did Magnolia and Boogie Nights and The Master and Inherent Vice and loads of cool stuff. And it was brilliant. It was genuinely one of the best films I have seen in years. 2 hours 45, so it's quite a long one. And I had the cinema to myself on opening day, although it was daytime, so bit of a caveat, but that's not a great sign. But I think it's very much tit for Oscars. Completely see it. It's genuinely brilliant, and a weird mixture of Big Lebowski meets Terminator meets Steven Spielberg's Duel. That's my review, especially for you, Scotty. Really bloody good is my other review. And the soundtrack is by Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead. So it even sounds good. It looks good, made me laugh, made me a little bit kind of think about scary things in the world right now. But it was really good. Highly recommend it.
Wow. Just to wrap up, Giles, the one thing I would say that I have seen is Us on TV.
How is this possible, James?
Craziness. Sure. So Joshua stumbled across this one night on YouTube. Obviously we post all the videos to YouTube, as you know, regular listeners can watch the whole thing within minutes or hours of it coming live. You can watch days. You can watch it on YouTube in full effect to see our facial expressions, as we say, all these awesome stuff we've done. So Joshua stumbled across it, and we ended up watching the whole. Thing. Sarah was there watching it, and Josh was watching it, and I was trying not to watch it because it's a bit creepy watching yourself on a massive 80-odd inch TV screen in your family room. But he was right into it. But it got me a bit paranoid, and that every time I listen to it now, I'm going to have to doubly make sure I don't say anything wildly inappropriate. Continue not to swear like we never do anyway, apart from when you mention your parades a minute ago. And don't give any secrets away as to what we're planning to do for any Christmas or birthday gifts in the future. So there we go. So I have to be even more careful than usual. So if you're watching, Joshua, hello. Stop watching.
Yeah, get to bed. That's good. I will go back and bleep out the previous swear, especially for he says, trying to note it down and probably forgetting. So if you've heard it, just pretend. Right. Sounds like game time. What have we been playing this month? Well, one of the things is our subclub game for September, which was Sword of the Sea. So as regular listeners will know, each month we pick a game off one of the subscription services, either PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass. We commit to each other to playing 4 hours, although that sometimes is challenging if it's a very short game, or if it's a bit rubbish like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, or too difficult, I think was how I gave up on that. But yes, we talk about it. We encourage you guys to play along. Not that very many people do, but one day we'll get you messaging in. Steve, Javier, Scotty, any of the three of you, please do give us a go and let us know how you're doing. But for this time, it was Sword of the Sea, which is what is it, James? What is it, and what did you think?
Oof, what was it? It was it's an interesting game, isn't it? It's as we mentioned before, by the people who made Abzu, or Abzu, however you want to pronounce it, as my headset is about to die again, no doubt.
That was weird, yeah.
There's some weird crackling noises there, but it's gone now. Good. Might have been my brain. Oh, no, it's back again. Anyway, yeah, I'll carry on talking and hope it works. So, the game is pretty much about reinvigorating the world in different environments and bringing sea back to it. Anyway. Pushing down, whip it out as my.
Oh, there you go. That's better. You sound a bit different, but it does sound clear.
It's not plugged in now. That's why it sounds different.
Oh, right. You're just a bit underwater.
Right, there we go. Let's stick it back on the hole and hope that's the good outcomes.
How about now?
Yeah, sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's better.
Keep us going for the next 10 minutes. Lovely. So, yeah, effectively, you remember in Abzu, years ago, you started off as a diver. You dived into the sea and you had to reinvigorate different parts of the ocean and sea life and stuff by doing different things, and it's very much an underwater experience because you have flippers and stuff. This one is an out of water experience at the start, but it does involve a lot of water. It seems like developers like dolphins and whales and sea creatures because they appear everywhere in this game as well, unexpectedly. So you start off by sort of skating, surfing, snowboarding down some sand, lots of sand in it at the start. And you do things to bring things back to life. So it might involve skating over some lanterns, which when they're all illuminated, something exciting happens, like some water appears or a building comes up out of the sand and exposes itself. You might also have to land on some pads, and then it gives you lots of these gem things, which you can almost pointlessly spend to get additional tricks later in the game. I'll come on to that a bit later. So you try and achieve things as chains in the sky, linking different things together, which you can skate along, but only when you get the chain operating. And you go into different locations, you try and jump on different things, you try and find different things, and you try and find a way out of each location. And there's about 8 different chapters, each one's slightly differently themed. So there's like a sand one, which is nice and hot, and then there's like a sort of snowy one, which is nice and cold. Then there's a sort of a fiery one, which is nice and hot, and then there's probably a watery one, which is nice and wet. So lots of different themes based around the elements. You do very similar things in each one, and it's nice. It's a very pleasant game. There's nothing unpleasant about it. There's no sort of baddies to kill. There's no sense of peril or danger. You can't really die in it. If you fall off the edge of a cliff, it just pops you back onto the top of the cliff again. You crack on regardless. It's a nice flow to it. You're always moving because you're on this sort of floating skateboard sword thingy. So there's no sort of running required or no walking required. It feels like it's all kind of just flowing between one venue to another. So you're constantly moving, you're constantly jumping between things and on things and under things. You're constantly discovering new things to open up. And then when you get to certain parts, it shoots up some nice little vines for you to float up on, or it shoots up some nice little buildings for you to jump on. And it's just nice, isn't it? It's a nice game. It didn't blow me away, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I had pleasant down as one of my notes. It's a very pleasant game, isn't it? Dreamlike, charming, whimsical. I then put nonsensical because, as you just described, sort of floating up vines doesn't really. You just kind of go with it. It's just one of those games that it's more about the mood and the feel of it, I think, certainly than the story. It's kind of a fun world. There is stuff going on. There's other people, other life in this world, like you mentioned with the animals, but also there's another kind of adventure, isn't there, that you kind of encounter. But yeah, I just sort of felt great, sort of carving your way through the sort of sand dunes on the sword. Felt really good, and I could have done that for a long time, which it wasn't because it was quite a short game. Reminded me a lot of Lonely Mountains, which is a game that I played a lot on Game Pass, a snowboarding game, just in terms of the sort of feel of carving your way through the snow on that game, but also the sound of it. And that is one where the sound in this game comes out of the speaker, doesn't it, on the DualSense. So that's kind of cool. It made you feel it felt a bit tangible, which is kind of a strange thing to say when it's a game on a screen over there. And if anyone's played Sable, it felt like that world to me. It was very kind of sparse, but also beautiful and kind of interesting, a bit stylized. So I like that. I thought the music was really good, and sort of kind of came in time with your actions as things got a bit more exciting. The music would kind of pick up as a random dolphin appeared, something like that, or a shark or whatever the hell was going on there. Was there anything you didn't like about it, James? I was not a fan of the last section or the boss at the end, which after sort of floating around for a few hours, it felt very odd to have what was quite a traditional boss fight for my liking.
There's a few oddities to it. I struggled at first to work out exactly what I was meant to be doing. You just were doing a lot of sort of surfing around on the sand and couldn't quite work out how to get out onto the next bit. As you know, with me, I like to progress to the next bit. Once I got through the first bit, I kind of got the concept then, and the rest of it was fairly straightforward. When you work out, you can follow paths in the sand, sort of, you can see little slabs, so you can follow them. And when you work out, you can follow the direction the fish are going, and that takes you to where you need to be going. So you can find little visual cues to work out where you're going to go, but I hadn't spotted them first off, so that annoyed me at first. It's quite a vibratory game on the DualSense. Obviously, it's giving you the illusion of surfing on sand. We mentioned at the pub the other night, didn't we? When the dolphin was, you take over, you sit on a dolphin at some stage, and he is like a giant skateboard, a big dolphin-shaped sized skateboard on the sand. So when he's in the water, it seems quite natural, but when he's on his belly on the sand, it just feels really scrapey and scratchy, and you're like, it can't be pleasant for the poor dolphin. I wonder if he agreed to be in this game, and whether he knows there's going to be so much sand in it. So it feels more rewarding than when you do find the water, because then you can stick the dolphin back in the water, but when he's on the sand, it feels a bit surreal and sort of RSPCA-ish. Yeah, towards the end, I agree. The kind of boss snaky thing at the end felt a bit weird. Um, don't know where he quite came from, and didn't seem like it was ever going to end. It was just weird. Um, but the annoying thing for me is it didn't. I like games where it feels like you need to be doing good at it to finish a game. Whereas this game, it didn't feel like you needed to be particularly good at games. You just sort of played it through. There's never a thought in my mind that I wasn't going to finish it. You just, as long as you kept skating around and jumping on things, you were going to get there in the end. So it took away the peril and the challenge that I like in games. So that's probably my big drawback. It wasn't dark. There was no dead bodies or anything. It's just sort of all pleasant, a pleasant stroll for a 4-hour game that got to the end. It was quite nice.
Yeah, I made a note. I said art probably, but the kind where you ride a dolphin through a derelict city and a shark through snowy mountains, and where you have to admit that the guy next to you just shaking his head and saying, "Well, I can't say that now because you said Joshua's listening," but he has a point too. So it's kind of rubbish in terms of nonsense, kind of beautiful. And I really enjoyed it. What would you score it, James? I went with an 8. I thought if the ending was better, I might have even gone 9. But I think that's a bit higher than you, isn't it?
Yeah. The only other thing that bothered me before I come to score was that obviously the dolphin was annoying when it was on its belly on the sand because it felt bad. But also when you had the shark and you're whacking through these massive ice blocks to release 5 gems at a time, it felt like you were putting this shark for an awful lot of pain for no apparent reason. Whale. Probably a whale. Was it a whale or a shark?
There was. I think there were both. I think there was a shark with the blocks, and I think there was a whale later. Like you said, they're a big fan of water-based mammals.
Yeah, mammals. Yeah, you just didn't feel nice whacking his nose constantly into big lumps of ice to try and get pointless things. Yeah, and the as I mentioned before, I said I was going to come back to it. The fact you're collecting these gold thingies. You then, every now and again, you saw this bloke looking miserable with a pot on his head, and he had to throw all your gold thingies into his pot, and then he looked excited for a minute until you didn't have enough gold, and then he looked miserable again. But if you did get the required number of gold, so it starts off on like 100, for example, and goes up to 500, then 1,000, then 2,000, every time you get to a milestone in his pot, he gives you a trick. So, for example, you might say, now you can jump in the air and then spin around twice before you land. You're like, okay, that hasn't really achieved me anything, but thank you. There was one useful one where you can press the X button 3 times and it sort of jumps twice and then skates through the air. So that was useful. All the other tricks I found were a bit pointless. So in the end, I couldn't even be bothered to get the 2,000 one because it could be asked. So I just moved past him. So my score would be 7 to 7.5-ish because it's a very pleasant game. I enjoyed playing it, but it didn't have the elements of the game that I generally find most engaging. And it's not something I'd probably remember in a year's time. If we were looking at Game of the Year contenders, I wouldn't think, oh, yeah, Sword of the Sea, that was amazing. I think that was good. I enjoyed it, but no, it's gone.
Yeah, nice. It made me think quite a lot. In fact, this month made me think quite a lot about game length. And we talked about it a bit before, but I said my score was an 8. As we come through the other games I've been playing, I think the length of a game really, to me, determines what I'm expecting from it. And it was nice and short. So I think I'm sort of more minded to be more generous because it wasn't stealing my time from some other experience. But yes, just I want to hold that thought for myself. Life is too short. There's too many other great games out there. So the fact that it went over with, bosh, on to the next one, I appreciate that a lot.
Yes, anything over 20 hours definitely gets massively in my tits now, but something between 5 and 10 is probably my comfort zone now.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, the benefit of both of us tending to play quite a lot through the subscriptions, that if you bought something and it was short, you might be annoyed. A lot of people seem to equate kind of quality with quantity, or the other way around. But if you're getting these things through a subscription or sort of late in sales, things like that, then maybe you're just more up for a good experience and a bit of variety. So I think that's where we both sit. Speaking of variety, what else have you been up to?
In terms of game playing?
Yeah, I meant to say playing.
Yeah. So two I carried on from last month. So Airport CEO I still put a ludicrous number of hours into. That was the one where you build an airport from the ground. We laughed hysterically last month that I work at an airport in real life and I come home and play an airport to build one. Hilarious. So really good game. It's not graphically amazing and it doesn't always work perfectly, but it's quite nice to build an airport and have it all function nicely. It's occasionally glitchy. If you have remote stands, it goes horribly wrong. So I had to try and build my airport to not have remote stands, so you don't have to worry about buses and all that um, finicky stuff. But in the end, I can't really play it anymore because I filled up my entire zone with airport and it's all running perfectly and there's not a lot you can do with it, really. There's not much to do once you've got it running perfectly. So that's the end of that one. It doesn't really end. You finish the scenario and then it just carries on forever. But now I've done as much as I can, so that's good. Great game. Recommend it if you also work at an airport and want to build an airport in your spare time. Hotel Architect, I mentioned last month that I'd finished, and then they launched that DLC just to annoy me, to mock me. So it was a Vegas DLC, and the Vegas DLC had casinos in it for the first time, so you could build a casino in your hotel and put all the arcade machines in. Again, quite fun. Again, not particularly difficult, so I completed the DLC, and that game is again completed. But it still says coming soon, another city of some description. I'm not sure what else you can put in a hotel now, but yeah, dread to think what else is left to put in a hotel that isn't already in there. Some niche services, probably. So that was that. Played that one as well. So that's my two kind of strategy, longish games. And then I really got into Clair Obscur this month. I've mentioned it a few times in the past. I've played it like an hour or two a month. But in the last week, I've been coming home from my late shifts, getting home about midnight, and then playing that until 2 o'clock in the morning just to wind down. And it's such a good game. I really, really got into it now. Graphically, it's awesome. The environment is wonderful. The characters are very individual and have their own personalities. Some of the women look a bit the same with different haircuts, but that's life. They all look quite French. It all feels quite French, with the occasional merde and the occasional French word, but mostly in English. I quite enjoy the story. I quite enjoy the turn-based combat bit, because each of the enemies now, when you get through it, are completely different. So it actually takes a bit of skill getting used to how they're going to attack it and the timing of it, so you can block or parry at the right time, or dodge or jump in certain cases. So I find that quite rewarding, getting to grips with all that stuff. And the story's really interesting. It's quite a unique one, really. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Effectively, you're chasing after this paintress person who every year kills everyone on your little island of Lumiere who is of a certain age. So it started off at 100, so she would only kill 100-year-olds, so not particularly impactful for the first few years. But it's down to 33 now, so it's called Clair Obscur Expedition 33, because this year, at the yearly event called the Gommage, then everyone who's 33 is wiped out and turns into roses. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, everyone's turned into roses. Right, let's go and have a beer. And no one seems to care about the fact that all their friends and family have died, bizarrely, in the prologue.
Yeah, I think there's sad. I think once you, I guess, I mean, I don't know. I thought it was pretty pretty sad and pretty well marked. But I guess once you've lost all your friends who were the year older, you kind of know what's coming. So maybe the sort of edge is taken off it. Spoiler free. Whereabouts are you? Am I right? You just finished Act 1 fairly recently. Is that right?
Yeah. So the prologue, which starts off, and then there's 3 different acts, I believe. So I've just literally finished Act 1 a couple of nights ago. And again, it's got a fairly emotional ending to it, which is nice. And yeah, it's quite epic, really. It feels really epic.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's from some of the people who used to work for Ubisoft, wasn't it? You said before, who split away and formed their own company. And yeah, this is kind of a game that I don't think anyone expected to do majorly well, because it wasn't massively publicised or wasn't massively expected. And then it came out and it's been smashing it, wasn't it? Massive sales and really good game.
Yeah, and Microsoft put it on Game Pass, which is very nice of them, because it's it's sold very well on the other platforms, but nice to have quotes free. But then not very nice for Microsoft decided to then release a remaster of Oblivion, one of the most beloved RPGs of all time. I think the week before or the week after it came out. So yeah, like you said, particularly then, I think people didn't expect it to do very well, and it has. So shows that it's a really good game. You mentioned the women looking a bit samey. I don't know if it was just me, but I feel like some of the male characters I started to confuse a bit, which we probably won't be able to go into, but if you know, you know. And plus the dad, who just looks like a slightly older version of the same person. So that was all a bit strange. But yeah, I completed it. Look forward to hearing your future updates. It was high on my list for the year, and I think it's on lots of other people's too.
Yeah, my favourite bit is a character that floats. There's a character called Lune, who, when you go into run mode, she floats majestically just above the surface. I love Lune floating She looks very different than everyone else, to be fair, but the other female characters look the same, and all the male characters look the same, like you said. So, yeah. Obviously, a common model used in the middle of it. So, great game. Very much enjoying it. It's been 10 hours so far to do Act 1. I believe Act 2 is meant to be sort of double that length, and Act 3 is quite short, so I'm probably about a third of the way through, probably. So, yeah, very much enjoying it. Hopefully, by the end of next month, I'll have got through Act 2. Shifts and lives and sleep depending.
Yes. Yeah, this is the problem. There are so many good games, and especially when they are a little longer, you have to pick and choose. I managed to polish off Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which was our game of the month last month. I was very nearly there, it turned out. So I did flip it to easy for the last quarter. I've put not ashamed in my notes, a little bit ashamed, but also grateful that I did, because I wouldn't have finished it on the difficulty I was playing on, and actually enjoyed it a whole lot more. I really enjoyed the challenge to a point, and then just hit a wall, got stuck. I think I hadn't really upgraded my skill tree because I'm not ever that interested in that stuff, so it was getting harder and harder, and I was just getting frustrated. It was taking a long time. Flipped it to easy. I really enjoyed the platforming, so you still got that as a challenge, but when it came to the boss fights, it was still reasonably challenging, but without, as in not a walkover, shall I say, but without the kind of banging your head against the wall type of frustration, which it was getting to otherwise. So as that was quite precision jumps and quite difficult up to the point I flipped it. Another game I played, which was a complete chill game, which I took on holiday actually, he's my ROG ally, was a game called Hurdling. That is not a Colin Jackson 19 whatever's simulator, but it's HERDLING, and you start in an underpass, subway, I guess. You're a sort of homeless person, I think, waking up on a mattress. It's an urban setting for the tutorial, but actually it's a very sort of countryside type game, very peaceful. Again, a bit similar in a way to Sword of the Sea in that respect. Once you get out into the open country, it's really quite sort of relaxing and chill, I think the young people say, which is nice. You are herding, hence the name, a collection of these animals called calicorns, which are like goat/woolly mammoth type things. You're trying to direct them towards their sort of home, get them out of the city, through the hills, through the meadows, through the mountains, and get them home. So that's quite nice. Very simple puzzles. Very calming, possibly a bit dull, if I'm honest. And that's the downside, that I think it just interesting comparing experience with Sword of the Sea, because Sword of the Sea for me, it felt so good that I didn't really pay too much attention to the lack of challenge that you mentioned earlier, James. But this, it's very, very sort of passive. You're kind of just really directing these calicorns around. It's quite cute. I think if you get into the sort of Tamagotchi side of it, giving them names and kind of petting them and stuff, you would probably enjoy it a bit more. But I was starting to think, what am I doing? But again, shorter game, stuck with it. And actually the ending, in contrast to Sword of the Sea, the ending was really good. Suddenly all the different little puzzle elements that were kind of basic on their own started interacting, which made it more interesting. There's a lot more interaction with the world and more challenge. Not much still, but you could not quite die, but you could certainly have a negative experience, shall we say, if you get attached to a particular calicorn. Maybe be careful about that. It was really kind of exhilarating finish and a really quite emotional ending, which was finally kind of felt like that was the game I wanted it to be. So again, thinking about length, I'd go for a 7 just. It was a 6 right up to the end for me. And I put a light to recommend, which I think is the faintest of praise. Quite pleasant. Also very good to play on a handheld because it's fairly undemanding and nice and simple. So
nice.
That's me. A couple more, James. Have you got a couple more?
I have, yeah. I think you're right about length though and difficulty. And these days, I think when you're a bit younger, you feel like you have to achieve stuff on the highest difficulty to impress your friends or to challenge yourself. But these days, there's so many good games to play that I'd much prefer playing a game for 10 hours on easy than playing the same game for 20 hours on hard. because you haven't seen any more of the game, you've not achieved anything more, you've still completed it. You've just done each boss fight like 50 times over, which gets very frustrating. It doesn't really achieve much. So yeah, completely in favour of reducing to easy as soon as it gets too hard. Two other games I've been playing one with Joshua called Wobbly Life. Great game. Great game.
Fun.
Yeah, it's got the same kind of physics as Human Fall Flat and totally reliable delivery service and that kind of stuff. So you're controlling these yellow blobby character thingies. You can play in two-player split screen, which me and Josh have been doing, which is good fun. So effectively, you're living in your nan's house, and she kicks you out because you're being lazy and don't have a job and aren't contributing. So she literally kicks you out the window and you land on the floor. And then you walk around this wobbly land achieving quests and tasks for people. So there's lots of people who live there and lots of buildings and lots of different maps within the island that you can move between. And if a person's got a question mark above their head, it means they've got a quest for you to achieve. And if you achieve the quest, they'll then give you some coins, which you can use to upgrade things and to buy outfits and do fun things. So it's a really big world. They've recently added space to it. I didn't realise they'd only recently added it because it existed when we started playing it a couple of weeks ago, but it was only a DLC that had launched the week before, that had launched space, as it were. So that's interesting. You can get your astronomer's license. No, what are they called? Astronaut's license. Blimey, yeah. Astronomer, somebody looks at them. Astronaut's the person who does it. And then you can then get in a rocket, go up to space and have a whole new section of fun. So we played that for a good few hours between us. Good fun. Lots of laughs. Obviously, because of the physics in part, but also because it's just generally entertaining place with lots of different locations. So for anyone, again, with family or just if you've got a generally high tolerance for low intellect games, I would recommend it. It's very good fun and very harmless. There's no swearing or violence, just good fun with yellow, squishy people. And the other weird game I've been playing is a game called Pentiment. That's correct, isn't it? It's called Pentiment, yeah. Really weird game. So I saw it advertised when I was looking for a list of like top 20 Game Pass games when I finished whatever other game I was playing and wanted a new challenge. It's very different from Clair Obscur. Graphically, it's not much because it's presented in a sort of a storybook style. So it's like pages of an ancient text with pictures on it. So you walk between locations, you sort of click a button, it takes you to the dormitory, or you walk along a bit and then there's a couple of options. You can go up towards the infirmary, or you can go towards the scriptorium. And you're effectively a bloke who works in the scriptorium. So you are there with some brothers and monks in a sort of a churchy type place, and they're transcribing text from one text into another copy of the text so they can give away and sell on like they used to do in the old days in churches. So you're a bloke called Andreas, who you're trying to do a masterpiece. You're trying to be an artist. You've been to sort of art school and you're quite informed about Martin Luther King and all kinds of cool stuff. And you're there trying to do your artwork, but you're also trying to pay the bills by doing some scripting for these people. And it's just really weird.
Did you say Martin Luther King?
Did I not? Who was it?
Martin Luther?
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
It's just because I'm sure it's like medieval, and I was nodding along going...
No, that wouldn't make any sense, would it?
Yeah,
yes,
that was,
good.
I definitely didn't get to that bit.
No, it makes much more sense now.
Okay.
And then a baron arrives who is very much in favour of the modern views of the church, as exposed by Martin Luther. But then the church and the abbots and the monks there aren't up for it because they're very happy with the way the church has been running for all these years. And then a mystery unfolds and you have to try and solve the mystery over the rest of the course of the game. Really interesting. It's sort of done in the clock format, so you have a sleeping time of day, you have a morning time of day, you have a working time of day, and then you have sort of an inventory time of day. And you sort of do certain bits and follow certain tasks and do certain things and solve certain puzzles to take you in a time period to the next part of the day. I've probably played about 4 hours so far, so I'm very early into it, and it's going to be quite a fairly long game, about 20, 25 hours, I think. But it's just so different. There's no sort of graphics to speak of. It's not 3D at all. It's just literally looking like you're going through the pages of a book. Really weird. Characters are interesting. Story's really strange. And I've only just sort of got into it now. The first couple of hours you're walking around going, it's not really floating my boat so far. It's just really odd and not very advanced at all. But then it sort of pulls you in, gets you hooked with all the churchy type dramas. And then there's a strange woman living in a little cell that has visions about stuff. And you're like, oh, that's really interesting. And then you go somewhere else and lots of things are going on. And there's floods and, yeah, a sort of a Zemanus type thing. So fascinating game so far. So I'll definitely be continuing with that one. It's just really weird. You've played it to the finish, Charles, or just a bit of it?
I played quite a chunk of it, but I believe I got to the end of whether it's an act or, a very clear kind of chapter point, which I'd really enjoyed. But then that made me look how long it was. And I kind of thought this would be a really good shorter version of a game.
Yeah,
but yeah, the sort of medieval murder mystery thing really got me. I thought it was fun. But I did bounce off because I just thought, am I going to enjoy another 10 hours or whatever it was of this?
Yeah, I can see that.
And as we know, I struggle to actually stop things and move on. But I think it just also was the time where there were a lot of new games that I really wanted to play, or a lot of other options to play. And so I just bounced. Did you know what Pentiment means, James? I had to look it up when I played. It was quite interesting.
I think I used to do it in the olden days, but
okay.
no. I recognise the word when I play the game, but I've never looked up to remember what the word meant to mean.
As the scholar, no, this wasn't to catch you out, but yeah, James is the scholar amongst us, ladies and gents. So he would know this sort of stuff. But to anyone of interest, it's an underlying image or form that an artist has painted over that becomes visible due to the transparency of the top paint or through technological means like X-rays. So I'm still not sure, based on how much I played, how that plays into, if it plays into the game at all. But yeah, if anyone's wondering, Pentiment, that's a strange name, is a thing.
Fascinating. But there's some interesting puzzles in it. I stumbled across a couple of puzzles unexpectedly and solved them, and that felt nice. But yeah, there's no sort of speech in it. It's all very much text-based. It's just really weird. It seems like an old sort of 80s, 90s game, isn't it? Like an old style adventure game rather than a modern adventure game. So it's got a nice little nostalgic vibe, but with a really interesting story, and fascinating that it sort of involves the church and religion and that kind of things. If only there was another game like that we could play at some stage in the future.
Indeed. Yeah, you sort of advance through words as well, don't you? You're filling in words in the manuscript, which is kind of an interesting mechanic, I think. The other games that I've been playing are quite actiony, so quite different from that one. But continuing on the time theme, I wasn't going to talk too much about God of War Ragnarok this month, because, as I mentioned previously, I decided to play it because I was nervous that Sony were going to take it off the system. They've just added, I think, Last of Us Part 2 into the remaster into PS Plus, so they don't usually have a lot of their own sort of big games on at the same time, so I'm still rather suspicious. But I wouldn't have talked about it because I haven't actually still got that far through it, but I've actually started to wonder whether I'm going to finish it, so I feel like I should mention that. I am about a third of the way, and I've played 13 hours. So I'm on track for a 40-hour playthrough. And I've noticed this with a couple of the Sony sequels, that the first one was, good length or a bit long. Good length, I think, was Last of Us Part 1. A bit long, I thought, for the first God of War. But then God of War Ragnarok, to me, particularly the section I've been playing, which I've looked up and have heard other people mention, is the worst offender. It's really obviously just stringing things out. I just played hours and hours with Atreus, so... oh my gosh, the protagonist's son is going to come to me, and you'll be screaming at the podcast listeners.
Kratos, does it?
Kratos, thank you, James. Always can rely on you to fill in words, apart from when it's you trying to remember them. So he plays Atreus for a big section, and literally going around collecting some fruit from a tree. You're kind of riding this big yak thing very slowly through a place called Ironwood. It is the most frustrating thing for what is a big action game, and which really sort of excels in these big action set pieces. And it's really starting to annoy me, beyond just, I'm not sure I'm enjoying this, to actual general annoyance, and I'm starting to think that I might not finish it. I did look it up, and people have said it gets better, and particularly towards the end it's much stronger. But again, genuinely, particularly with a long game, at the moment I'd score it a 7, and that's a game that I was really looking forward to. That is very well regarded. The boss battles are really cool. The story's quite interesting. Puzzles are still terrible. Sony Santa Monica, really, they're just so dull. but the sort of unnecessary stringing out of the game, I feel it's quite insulting to my time. My time's not that precious because, who am I? But I feel like it's a bit of a battle now between me and that game. So watch this space. We'll see if I finish off.
It'd be nice if you could choose when you start how long you wanted the game to be, so then it just cuts out all the busy work in the middle.
Yeah, I quite like, things like Assassin's Creed get a lot of stick for all the unnecessary busy work, go and collect X number of feathers or these manuscript pages. But all that optional side quest stuff is quite nice when you can just completely ignore it and just mainline the story. And that if people want to do that and keep themselves busy, wonderful. But if the story's nice and tight, that's what I'm looking for with my God of War. So, yes, I want to break stuff, and it's not letting me break stuff. That feels like a problem. James, any more?
No, that's it for me. That's all my games done, wasn't it?
Well, I'll be quick then, because I've just got one more, which is my traditional palate cleanser from God of War, because it is a strong recommend so far, which is called I Am Your Beast on Xbox Game Pass.
I've heard about that.
It's really, really cool. It says it's a short form covert revenge thriller first person shooter, but it's not really a first person shooter because you have these little sort of zones, little kind of areas, mini zones, violent playgrounds where you just really need to get to A to B, possibly do something in between, but you're supposed to be doing it against the clock. They're like arcade runs, speed runs. You can get quicker and quicker. Most kills are sort of one-shot kills if you get headshots and things like that. So it's really designed to be stylish. It is on Game Pass. It was a surprise drop this month. And you'll know if it's for you or not after, I'd say, probably 20-30 seconds. So highly recommend giving it a go. I am 5 levels out of 27 in. They're very short, or they could be very short if you don't go back and want to improve your score, improve your speed run. But I have done that a fair bit. It really makes you feel like, I don't know, John Wick or James Bond or all those sorts of things. And it looks really cool, really stylish. Guardian called it like Rambo on fast forward, and I think that's a very nice little summary. It's very quick, it's very stylish, it's quite violent, but not in a kind of grisly way. It's very cartoony, and I think you can even turn the blood off. Highly recommend it. Really good fun.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard about it on the other podcast I listened to, and they were very much in favour too, and it was very fast paced, and you can drop stuff and pick stuff up, can't you, and just use whatever's hanging around to shoot people with and then throw stuff and fun stuff.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I dispute the idea that there's another podcast, but otherwise you make a lot of sense, James. Right, you mentioned if only there was another similar setting game to Pentiment, and as we trawl our minds for Subclub Game of October, anything spring to mind, James?
No, not really.
Oh,
however, if there was a game involving a Russian nun with mental health issues that has been spoken to regularly by the devil and was shunned by her nun community and then went on a big adventure in a sort of a psychological way, that'd be quite cool, wouldn't it?
That would be cool, especially if it fell during spooky season and October. That would almost feel like it was kind of planned out, even though it was kind of decided about 5 minutes before the show. But we have really wanted to play this game, both of us, I think. I think you brought it to my attention, James, when it first came out. It's now on PlayStation Plus, right?
Yeah, it cost money back when I mentioned it originally, which is what put us off horrifically from playing it. But now it doesn't cost any money unless So it's called Indica. The developers were originally based in Russia, and then they moved quickly to Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan or some other stan when the invasion took place. And then they finished a game there. So it came out last year, I think, in 2024. And it's sort of 9 out of 10 on Steam, so it seems to be pretty popular. It's got some slight vibes to Hellblade in that you've got sort of voices in a head type concept and it explores mental health issues, but also interestingly in a sort of a Pentiment type way, it explores the issues around religion and church and state and that kind of stuff as well. So it sounds really fascinating. Not sure what the gameplay will be like, but if it's got 9 out of 10 on Steam, it must be pretty good. I'm very much looking forward to playing it because it sounds, again, very different and a nice combination of lots of fun, different things.
Yeah, can't wait. It mentions surreal landscapes and interacting with strange people during this journey in the description. That sounds like our sort of thing. So if you have PlayStation Plus, it's the extra tier, so not the kind of monthly games that are relatively affordable, but the next one up, the sort of subscription version, you'll be able to play along, or you can buy it on other platforms. I think it's on Xbox and Steam, and I think it's quite often in sale. It often pops up on the sales for me. So play along, let us know what you think. Excellent. Right. I mentioned it's been a busy month for news, but having culled our monthly topics, these podcasts are still getting longer and longer every month. It's like our waistline's ever expanding. Yeah. So we've had a lot of sort of notable things happen this month, but if we just keep it to highlights. So I liked your note on the Nintendo Direct. I actually forgot what was covered at all, although I did watch it. But you had one thing to call out, I think.
Yeah, the Virtual Boy. Bizarre. You can either get a plastic version or a cardboard version. The plastic version is nearly 100 quid and the cardboard version is about 30 quid. Basically, it's a little thing that you open up and you flip your Switch 1 or Switch 2, it's compatible with both, into it, and then you stick it on your head and you look at a game on it. But there's only going to be a maximum of 14 games. They all look like 8-bit free colour games from 20 years ago. And they're not all released when it comes out. So it's going to be a maximum of 14 games over the next few months/years, and it looks horrific. No idea why anyone would want it, but I guess it's a nostalgic thing. We mentioned on the Nintendo show, great show, please go back and have a look, our Nintendo special, that Nintendo do some strange things now and again. They try and pioneer different things, but this seems to be completely against that. They've done a really strange old thing and not pioneering anything at all. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, the pioneering was the actual Virtual Boy back in the days, but to sort of bring it back into life like this is really, it's a kind of weird flex, isn't it? It's like Nintendo just sort of say, we've got so much money, we could just do this, and presumably, I mean, I assume some people might choose to buy it, but I'd also imagine that it's not gonna be a mainstream appeal, like you said, for the plastic one to play 14 old, fairly basic games in what was a fairly kind of crappy 3D even at the time. I think it was kind of impressive until you played it, and then you thought, no, I'm not sure this adds very much like 3D glasses and all of that stuff. Every phase of 3D that's ever happened. But yeah, there was lots of other good stuff. Nintendo's on a bit of a roll at the moment. But again, listen to the Nintendo special, because neither of us have it. Nintendo as our main, so we'll probably move on from there. State of play though, PlayStation, kind of finally, because they've had a few quiet ones, coming out swinging. Really, that was a pretty good show, I thought.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. There we go. Tough. But there's a lot of time spent talking about games that are coming out in 2026. Because also we're getting towards that time of year now when things feel like they're miles away. But only 2020 is only like 3 months away now. So Wolverine was obviously a big one in there, wasn't it? Which, from looking at the highlights afterwards, it looks quite exciting and action-packed and quite gory. With obviously excessively long fingernails ripping people apart, so that seems to be getting a lot of hype at the moment, and obviously that was a nice length preview, so that looks exciting. I think that's the middle of next year, isn't it, that one?
Fall, I think they said, but I think that translates to
Christmas,
autumn in our language. Yeah,
so there was that one. They obviously announced the upcoming games in the month for October, which has some good names in it as well, so we'll come back to them in a minute. I wrote some down that jumped out at me, but I can't remember what it was. What jumped out at me?
It was the new game from the people who brought us Disco Elysium, wasn't it?
Yeah, ZAUM, or was that
Yeah.
So Disco Elysium, if you want to know more about it, there's a previous episode on it. There's also a review on the website. It's very accurate, very good, very well written. Such good website. So that was done by a company who subsequently split up after they did Disco Elysium. They had a bit of a falling out and fractured into two different companies. Disco Elysium was very much a story-based game. It's very weird, set in Revachol, kind of Russian-y type place, and you had to solve a murder. This one's more about spies and stuff. And the title, which Giles will probably read out in a minute because I've forgotten it, is to do with spies not having parades.
Yeah,
isn't
zero
it?
parades for dead spies.
Yes.
That doesn't strike me as a SEO optimized naming choice, but fair play to them.
No,
They're
I
not
think they
going to
might
play
rename
that
it nearer the
game.
time. But
Yeah,
obviously, conceptually, spies that operate in the darkness, they never get parades when they die because no one knows they've died. It's all done on the secret squirrel stuff. And it's meant
yeah,
to be very similar to the format of Disco Elysium in that it's going to be very probably heavily text-based, very unusual and out there, and sort of quite nichey. But I really enjoyed it when I played Disco Elysium. I know Giles played some on his tablet as well when he was out and about doing different things. So yeah, looking forward to that one. That's going to be middle of next year as well. So not too much looking forward to it yet because it'll probably be put back. But yeah, that looked an interesting one for me compared to some of the others I thought.
yeah. I mean, Wolverine looked kind of cool and gross, like you said, but I am still waiting to play Spider-Man 2. So I think that again sort of highlights how and when we get to these things. So it's quite hard to get too excited. And I mentioned in the past, I think watching things like the Xbox streams, it's easier for me to get invested because I know that they're coming to Game Pass if they're
Yeah.
Microsoft games. But these are, looked like a great game. Similarly, there's some really good stuff coming out on PlayStation. But for us, certainly for me, the announcements of the PlayStation Plus games each month is probably more exciting, really, than what's coming. Although, nice to know what's down the line. Speaking of which, at Tokyo Game Show, there was not a great deal, I think, announced, but Forza Horizon 6 was announced, set in Japan, so announced in Japan, which was a nice touch, although it was a shame because it kind of leaked just before the announcement, or it would have been more exciting. I'm a big Forza Horizon fan, so I'm very much looking forward to that. James, I can't remember if you've played any of them, or if Joshua plays.
4 and 5 we both had.
Yeah. Nice.
At various stages, both good games. One was UK, wasn't it? And one was sort of South America or Mexico or something.
Mexico, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then just before Tokyo Game Show, there was a Kojima stream where he did a trailer for OD, Knock, which may be an episode of OD, which might be an not an orthology. What's it called? Anthology of games. It may just be renamed because it was OD at one point, and it's sort of people are suggesting maybe it's a spiritual successor or an actual evolution of PT, which I think you either played or knew, which is the sort of demo that was on PlayStation a while back. Spooky stuff, and would have become a new Silent Hill game by Kojima. James, you're looking very blank, so it can't have been you I was talking about
blank.
this.
No, definitely not.
PT is legendary amongst PlayStation owners because it was a downloadable. PT stood for playable trailer, I think, and it was just a corridor, spooky, realistic corridor in a house that sort of repeated over and over. But as you played through it, you were kind of solving a puzzle of what had happened in that house, and you could kind of manipulate things, and it was very spooky. Anyway, OD looks very much like that. I don't know if you saw the trailer, James, but there we go. Moving on. Right, other stuff happened, but too busy for that. So lots of questions about where gaming is going. EA, just before we recorded, just got bought for 55 million, I guess dollars rather than real money. Sorry, American listeners. And Xbox has somehow increased the price of the Series X one more time. So unless they're crazy and doing it by themselves, which is possible, it doesn't bode very well for people trying to get into consoles. So we'll maybe see how that plays out over time, unless you have something to add specifically on that one, James.
No, I just find the whole thing baffling. Obviously, it's been out for like 4 or 5 years now, isn't it? Surely everyone that's wanted one by now has got one at a slightly more affordable price. It just means the second-hand market is going to be even more ridiculous than it was before. So I guess the only way of getting one at the moment is by getting it second-hand, isn't it? But even then, it's going to be probably the launch price of what it was when it came out.
Yeah, good news for anyone who, skulks around on eBay, tidying up and selling consoles. Maybe you should get back into that.
Yeah, those days are gone. Too much work.
Well, I don't know if there's enough profit. Anyway,
I'll have a look.
You have to clone yourself to have enough time, I think. There's some good stuff coming up this month, but we don't have a huge amount of time. James, you've highlighted a few things here on the notes.
Hundreds. We already mentioned, didn't we, the PlayStation thingy plus games. for the month. All look pretty good, all three of them, to be fair. You really like Cocoon, didn't you? And Alan Wake 2 is obviously awesome, supposedly. Alan Wake 1 was amazing. I love that. It was one of my games of the year for last year, or the year before, whenever it came out. So yeah, very much looking forward to playing that one. That was our other choice for game of the month for this month, apart from Indica. So that's going to be awesome. And then there's some big name games coming out shortly as well. So we've got Little Nightmares, which I mentioned last month. That's very soon now. It's 10th of October. Little Nightmares 3. Obviously 1 and 2 are both awesome, so I'm very much looking forward to Little Nightmares 3. Jurassic World Evolution 3 is coming out on the 21st of October. Me and Josh both love Jurassic World Evolution and number 2. So obviously we mentioned last month about the new Jurassic World film that was out with Scarlett Johansson. So obviously that always comes before Jurassic World Evolution game comes out. So very much looking forward to that one. That's sort of managing the dinosaur park and taking care of all their needs. That's always really good fun. Black Ops 7 is not far away now. It's 14th of November. And then a couple of games less heard of before. There's one called Trenches VR, which is on the PSVR. That's coming out on the 22nd of October. That's a World War I type game based in 1917, and you're in the trenches in virtual reality, trying to escape. But it's got some funky features, like the microphone can hear you breathing and whispering and talking, so enemies come towards you if they can hear you, but you can also call out to your colleagues in a whisper fashion to try and get support from places. And also if you walk on creaky floorboards, then the enemy can hear you as well, so it's very much meant to be sort of a psychological survival horror type thing in VR in the trenches. So it sounds very atmospheric and probably quite scary. So I might give that a go if it comes cheap. And then the only other one was Escape Simulator 2, which is, as you can imagine, the follow-up to the very successful Escape Simulator. And that came out on the 27th of October. So some big games in October, lots of good ones. That one looks really interesting. It's meant to be much better than the original, and the original is very good as well. So it's effectively you do lots of different puzzles in a room in an attempt to escape. But you can do it singly, you can do it co-op with up to 8 people. So it's probably a good thing for a kind of a games night, either online or in your house.
Cool. Yeah, I bought the first one on Quest actually in the sale recently. So looking forward to trying that one in VR myself. Excellent. Yeah, Ghost of Yotei will have launched by the time this episode does on PlayStation. I didn't finish Tsushima, but I might get back to it. It's kind of cool. Nice little samurai fantasy, but felt a little bit flabby again to me in terms of I just wanted to get to the end. But on Game Pass, it's going to be a strong month. Keeper, I've got my eye on. That's a Double Fine game coming out towards the end of the month, which is the team that brought us Psychonauts 2 and lots of other usually quite sort of unusual and interesting games. You play as a lighthouse in Keeper and your friend is a bird. So, you know, if that doesn't sell you on it, I don't know what does. More maybe next month, we'll see. Could be a good Game of the Month contender. Ninja Gaiden 4 looks fun, action slashy type stuff to get out my violent tendencies again. And Outer World 2 is definitely on my watch list because I loved the first one. Again, that's hitting Game Pass in October. So yeah, another busy month. I am also deciding still whether to spend my credit on a game called Bye Sweet Carol, which I mentioned last month, which is a really cool sort of playable cartoon, but with a sort of macabre twist. Indie DLC, which I still want to play, although I sort of feel like I've moved on. Maybe it's a bit late for me now. If it was closer to the release, I might have played it. And Terminator 2D No Fate, which I was also going to buy, or also in consideration, but which just got delayed till November. So lots coming up. But with that in mind, especially because James just wandered off, that's the show. Please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast. Consider giving us a 5-star review. Why not come over and interact on our socials? Why not? That would be nice. Most platforms we're at AX and Games, or on our Facebook page, or by emailing us like Javier did, like Steve did, like so many people did this month. I'm going to completely drill that one into the ground. I'm Charles Nicholson. Charles went west on most things. How about you, James? Can't hear you, James. That's awesome. If you made it this far, you did better than James because he's just somehow gone silent for perfectly in time for our sign off, which hopefully, still no. He's mouthing. If you're watching on video, he is still there. No, it's completely gone. Well, James says goodbye. He's Jamesy Boy 1979, something like that. And it's just... I mean, start as you mean to go on, end as you mean to start next month. We are a very professional podcast, and we hope you enjoyed the show. See you next month, first Friday of the month, for more Rakes and Games. He's waving. Bye.